In today's episode, you're going to learn from someone that has over 50 years of experience in business. I'm excited to introduce you to my first business coach, Rick DeLuca, who helped me get off the struggle bus, making 5 figures a year, year after year for 9 years. He helped me focus on one thing that changed the game for me to get off the struggle bus of always trying to chase down the next deal, the next client to work with, and to start attracting clients. And today he's going to reveal exactly what he worked with me on, and it'll work for you. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate or if you're a contractor, a painter, a plumber, a mechanic, whatever service providing business you're in, this will absolutely work for you. And also, he shares something I've never heard him talk about before, that there's one key word that he says causes more business owners to fail than anything else. When you hear this word, drop it in the comments below. So let's dive in. Here's Rick.
Yeah.
So Rick, if somebody was starting a business like right now today,
Mhm.
um, I think the principles apply whether somebody's stuck and they're looking to reset, because I've been there numerous times, or if somebody's in the launch phase of their business. Like, where would you recommend they start?
Yeah. Without hesitation. This is 2026, Chris. This is now my 50th year. So I started my career in 1976. And the number one thing I've learned, I don't even know what number two is, quite honestly. I could probably come up with it. But without doubt, the absolute number one thing I learned is the answer to your question. It's this: the higher the confidence of an agent goes, the higher their production. You can take it to the bank. And when I discovered that as a young branch manager of 11 agents, my focus was on building their confidence. So, okay, well, what does that mean? How do you do that? You do it this way. And you know this, you've heard me many times. Day one in the business, I give them a handful of local real estate statistics and tell them to memorize them. How many listings are on the market today compared to a year ago? What's the year-to-date sales number compared to a year ago? What's the average market time? How many months of inventory do we have? Those four basic statistics. You might add a fifth one. What's the average median price today versus a year ago? And I had them get to work. You show them how to get it, but they have to go out and get those numbers. And then I had pop quiz, and I gave little prizes. And I would do that in a sales meeting for my entire company. Okay, here's 5 basic statistics. Yeah. Because here's the truth. It's really successful experienced agents, they have a real good feel for those numbers, but they don't know the exact number. And I think it makes a difference when you're sitting in front of a seller and tell them, well, the average time to sell a home last year was 56 days. Today, we're selling homes in 47 days. So it's an improvement. Instant credibility. Instant
Right.
credibility. And you can see confidence in an agent just begin to well in them. And so that's number one thing. Number one thing. Because here's the futile part of real estate. You can tell an agent to go out and add people to their database and call people and mail them things or email, things. And you can tell them to do that, go sit in an open house and, that kind of thing. You can tell people all day long to do those things. The majority of people will be reluctant to do them because they lack the confidence of the discussion that may take place if they do that. I'm not equipped to really talk about the market in detail. And so I begin with something that basic. I created what I called a market study. If you're a new agent or you need to recharge your batteries and get something going, then use the market study form. The market study, I assigned a neighborhood, not the farm. I assigned a neighborhood, tract, subdivision, whatever your vernacular is in the area. And they had 1 week to complete the market study. How many homes in the neighborhood? What's the average sales price? What's the average market time? How many homes are currently on the market? Who are the top 3 listing agents in that community? Just some real basic stuff. What are this, what's the average size of a home? Just basic stuff, amenities in that neighborhood. And it caused them to do a number of things. One, they had to go out and drive around see homes, preview homes that were whoever they were listed with. It taught them to use the MLS to research things. It taught them they had to call the county to get information on some of those things, zoning issues and that kind of stuff. And so I gave them a different neighborhood each week for 4 weeks in a row. And at the end of 4 weeks, our agents knew more statistically about the market than most agents knew in 4 years. And once again, their self-confidence just screamed off the board.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do that, then the most basic thing, I'll add a third one. You have to have a database. You have to. If you don't have a database, you won't make it in real estate. And I've had those brutal conversations with people even recently in what I do now. I oversee about 800 agents in 7 states. And I've had some pretty tough conversations with a young girl that had so much going for her. Oh my word. Her family history in that community, sharp, smart as a tack, personable. She had so much going for her, but she just wouldn't see the value in a database. And I said, if you don't create a database in the next 30 days, you probably won't be in the business in 60 days. And she wasn't. And it broke my heart because she had what I call specific direction and failed to see the merit. So I failed in some way to convey the importance to her. And here's a statistic that says it in a nutshell. When I went into the business, I did everything. I called people, I knocked on doors, I bus stop benches, shopping carts. I mean, you name it, I did it, right? I spent a lot of money. And I did well, but the market was really, really hot. So that's the reason I did well, quite honestly. Um, the market was so hot, I never created a database. I didn't have to. Every time the phone rang, there was money on the other end. I just answered the phone. Oh, you want to buy a house, right? Well, when the market crashed 2.5 years later, 1979, interest rates got up to 19%. We couldn't give away houses.
Wow.
And within 6 months, I was broke. And I actually went back to the police department, Chief Parker, and asked for my job back. And he said, well, you've been gone too long. You got to start over again. I said, oh, man, I don't want to do that. I got to figure this thing out. And so I went to my dad, who was very, very successful car business in Southern California, never went past 8th grade. And I told my dad, I don't even know what to do. I gotta make it. I gotta figure out how to make it. And he said, well, tell me everything you're doing. So I gave him the test. I gave him I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Lost my dad about 16 years ago, 85 years old. Here's a direct quote from the late Pete DeLuca. He says, you know those things you're doing? I said, yeah. And he goes, they're stupid. I'm going, and of course, my response was, well, Dad, you're not in real estate. You don't understand. That's what we all do. He goes, well, then you're all stupid. And I'm going, why do you say that? He said, Rick, before you start chasing the business, you first need to slow down and find out where the business is coming from. I went, oh. And so I went back and looked at the sales I'd made in 2.5 years. NAR back then had a little publication, I think I don't remember. It came from an economics and research division, and they had a little bar graph and pie charts of all kinds of stuff. They have the same thing today. Go to realtor.org and go to research, and you'll see that kind of stuff. And what I pointed out, I'll go now all these years, I'll jump to the present tense. Of the 4 million sales last year, year before last, 71.52% of all the home sales in this country came about as a result of a relationship.
Wow.
That was the bar graph way up here. Relationship, past clients, friends, neighbors, family members, people in my database, past clients, referrals, 71.52%. That means that every other method of lead generation, social media, advertising, knocking on doors, you open houses, everything combined is less than 29% of the business. And so I'm not saying, nor would I ever say to anyone, well, don't do social media. Don't do it. No. What I do say
Mhm.
is what I made my decision my 3rd year in real estate because I had so many bad habits, put the put a proportionate amount of your resources, which is time, energy, and money, into where business comes from. So 70% of my resources should be spent on relationships, creating new relationships and strengthening those relationships. If you do that, then yeah, sit open houses and use social media campaigns. I post 7 days a week in what I do today, so, but the bulk of your business is coming from there. And to refuse to accept that is beyond naive. It's just stupid, to quote my dad. Okay. Yeah.
That's so
Mhm.
good. And that was my struggle, as you know, Rick. My first 9 years, it was being on a hamster wheel where I kept hitting my head up against the glass ceiling, getting the same results over and over, working 7 days a week because I thought I just need to work harder and work more, and surely I would be able to get better results for my family and I and for
Mhm.
my clients. And it wasn't until you and I started working together where you helped me start going back and making a list. I remember you said, "Chris, are you keeping track?" And I said, "No, I'm not, honestly." And you said, "That's okay." Like, looking back, it's like I thought I was the first person to admit they haven't been keeping track of their clients,
Yeah.
and you were so gracious and kind, and you just assigned it as homework over the next week and asked me to go back and just start making a list of the names and phone numbers and the basic contact information and stuff. How come people resist the building a database, you think? Can you put your finger on anything?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I said a few minutes ago. They don't have confidence.
It's a confidence, okay.
Absolutely. They don't. Why would I approach someone I have a relationship with when in fact they may engage me in conversation that I'm not equipped to have an intelligent
Mm,
conversation? That is the very basis of success and failure in this business, you know? And I'll take it to the next step. When you do when I say relationship, I'm talking about the lady at the dry cleaners that you see every 3 weeks, and
mhm.
you know her by first name and she knows, "Oh, hey, Rick," right? To the guy who sold you tires on your car, to, yes, your neighbors and your friends and your former coworkers. But here's what's really important, and it took me a few years to realize this. I think there's two mandatory things you need to do with your database. Well, I'll say three. I'll start with the basic one, and that's the no-brainer one. You need to be in front of them at least once a month. To me, it was every 21 days. I think every 2 weeks is too frequent. I think once a month, too much time goes by in a month. So for whatever reason, I simply decided 21 days. And and so I'm going to send them something every 21 days. And we've all heard that. And here's where I differ from a lot of people in real estate. Doesn't make me right, but it worked for me and it worked for the people in my company and people I've coached over my career. I think in my era, if I'm going to spend my hard-earned money sending something to people every 21 days, I don't want it to be it's time to change the batteries in your smoke alarms. It's time to set your clocks forward an hour. Here's some tax tips. I don't put those ideas down. Please don't hear that. But I decided because again, my era, I had to pay for printing, postage, and envelopes to mail to my database. I'm spending money, hard money versus e-campaigns today, right? But here's what I discovered. If you want those people to refer you, there's two things that most agents just don't think of. The first one is a foreign thought to most agents. Before I give you the answer, I want to give you this scenario. You've got someone in your database. They're not your best friend. They're someone you have a relationship with, and they're having lunch with a friend of theirs. And during the lunch, that friend says, "Hey, we're going to sell our house." All you want is for that person to say, "Oh, I know who you need to call." That's what we pray for. But here's what we fail to recognize. Anytime you recommend anything to anybody, there's an element of risk. You recommend a restaurant, a babysitter, lawn care. If they use that recommendation and it doesn't work out, I failed. I look bad. Well, we're talking about the single largest investment of people's lifetime for most people, their home. And so when you want your friend not friend. When you want your contact in your database to tell their friend to use you, there are two things that are fundamentally important. Number one, you need to give them evidence of your success. You need to boost their confidence in your ability. Well, how do you do that? For agents who are experienced and I even pick a number. If you did 8 to 10 sales a year minimum, then you need to send at the end of the year or in January, here it is February, not too late if you're hurry, you need to send them what I call the year-end thank you letter. And I talked about that way back when with you. And the letter has pictures of the houses that you're on the buy and selling side to close, and then just basic information. Hey, I just want to thank you for your support and encouragement. It means a great world to me. Without it, I couldn't have had the year I had. That's it. Boom. And so you're doing two things. You're checking both boxes. One, you're showing them you're good at what you do. And number two, you're giving them credit for your success. You're taking them on the journey with you on this road to success. People get a kick out of that. And so for people who are new or people who are maybe low in production, well, geez, it wouldn't be very impressive. I can't send out the letter. I did 3 sales last year, something like that. You need to show evidence of your success. What would that mean? Well, maybe every 21 days in an e-campaign, you send them, you go to other agents in your office, you don't have any listings, and you go to Chris and Larry and Josephine and say, hey, you just took new listings. Can I put your new listings in my e-blast and send it out to everybody, telling them, hey, just listed properties. I'm not saying I listed them. I'm just saying, just listed these properties. If you know a buyer, let me know. And so every 3 weeks, you're sending something like that. Oh, geez, look at all the houses Rick sold. People don't read the words. They see pictures of a house and your picture. That means you're selling real estate.
Right.
And then you alternate it. Maybe 1 month you send, maybe 1 out of 3 months you send, do you know a buyer? Do you know a home? A home for these buyers? And I list my buyers, Bob and Jill and Dwayne and Edith and what they're looking for. If you know someone's at a home that meets the needs of one of my buyers, please call me. Evidence of your success. You don't have to have just closings, that you show people you're active in the business. You give them a reason to have confidence in your ability.
That's good. So it's really confidence in them as the business owner and then developing confidence in people to trust them and see them as the professional by really having a plan to stay top of mind.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And that's so good.
And so
I love that.
let me throw this in real fast. Here
Yeah.
we are today, 2026 versus my era, already 40 some years ago, right? You know what I do today? I would go to AI, whether it's Chat, Claude, Abacus, Gemini, I don't care what you use. I go to AI, and here's the most valuable thing I've learned about AI. You talk to AI like it's a person sitting on the other side of the table. Don't be sterile. Say, how do you do this? No. Hey, I want to develop a campaign and I want to convey my thanks to people in my database and I want to show them some evidence of my success. How would I go about doing that? Can you give me a schedule for, week by week on what I should be doing? Here's when you know you're on the right path with AI. When it comes back with a response that begins with, hey, Rick, that's a really good idea. Here's what I suggest you consider doing. And there it is, black and white. And then you take it and you modify it. You fit it to your personality. You don't just copy and paste. And so here I am, a guy probably older than most of the people, that are watching this and listening to this, Chris. And I've accepted the fact that if you don't embrace AI, you're going to lose out to the people who do embrace it.
Yeah, that's well said, Rick, for sure. Yeah. What else? We've talked quite a bit about confidence. That's what's standing out to me in today's conversation.
Mhm.
And confidence is an inside job. Is there anything else that you would want to leave someone with today where maybe they're feeling just defeated, discouraged, they feel like they lack confidence?
Yep.
And what would your best tips or tip be to them?
Okay. Here they are, real fast. I'll go back and emphasize number one. You got to know some statistics. Know them by rote memory. That's number one, absolute number one, because you're going to find yourself in conversations with family members,
Hmm.
not just potential listings and buyers, family members, friends, cohorts, and you're going to be able to use those statistics. It gives you instant credibility, number one. Number two, I actually assigned, when I hired new agents, which I hired almost nothing but new agents, I assigned them once a week to take an experienced, successful agent to lunch. And I said, you pay for lunch, and here are the questions to ask them. Asking them, what's your opinion on why most new agents fail in the business? What are the most important things you think I should be doing to generate success? Is there any kind of research, publications, websites, something that I should subscribe to? Ask them, get their input. Number two idea. Number three. If you've made some sales, either side of the deal, muster the courage to pick up the phone and call the people you did the deal with and say to them, I'm working on my business plan, and I've decided the most valuable thing I can do for input for my business plan is to call people that I actually did business with. And with that in mind, can I ask you, what are the kinds of things that you think I should include on my business plan so I provide an incredible level of service to buyers and sellers? What are the kinds of things you think are the most important? Was there anything that I did during our transaction that stands out now that, oh, yeah, you need to do that for everybody? Is there something I did that wasn't necessarily wrong, but was of little value? That maybe I didn't need to give you that or talk about that. Get input from the people you did deals with.
That's good.
And the way you can do that is what I said, prefacing the questions. I'm putting together my business plan for the
Hmm.
next 90 days, and I want to get some valuable input on what I should be doing and the things maybe I shouldn't be doing. I thought I'd ask the best people, and those people I've done business with. You could
Hmm.
use the same thing if you haven't done many deals. You could use the same thing in calling people in your database that are successful people. I called Merle Schneider. Merle Schneider owned 3 Dairy Queens in Reno. Well, he clearly knows what he's doing, you know, and I call Merle and ask that question. What are you doing to the Dairy Queens that you think maybe overlaps and I should be doing in my business? What should I put in my business plan? Just by prefacing your question with that, I'm working on my
Hmm.
business plan, you send an incredibly strong message to people. He's professional, he cares enough to ask for people's advice, it's a plan. He's not just shooting from the hip. So many
Hmm.
positive messages come from just that one statement. And so,
Yeah.
and I'll make sure I say this about business plans. When Bill Myers Realty, my owner, originally said, do a business plan for the year, I really struggled with that because I couldn't see a year in advance. I just hoped I was in the business. My first business plan, Bill had to submit it, said, I hope I'm still in the business. That was my business plan. And when I told my dad that I had to wrestle through this business plan, he owned all these car dealerships, phenomenally successful guy. He said, can I share something with you? I said, yeah. He says, I don't want to tell your broker he's wrong, but I'm going to tell you, running this empire of car dealerships, he said, I do a business plan every 12 weeks, not every 12 months. The reason why? You can change, you can modify, you can shift gears. You have different seasons in the year that are more conducive to sales and listings. A lot of people also don't know this. I just launched a campaign in my 7-state region showing them in a little kind of a cartoonish thing, 40% of annual listings are taken in the first 90 days of the year. January, February, March, 40% of the total for the year are taken right now in the middle of where we are.
Wow.
And one of my messages to my folks was this. It's one of the strongest things I've learned in sales. One of the primary elements of success in sales is simply being in the right place at the right time. Why is it that some people are more successful than others? in large part is because they put themselves in lots of places lots of times. And then I'll finish with this one, Chris. Having sat on superstar panels and national conventions, I learned from these people who made my production, look pretty pretty slim. Here's what I learned from all those successful people. Don't make one of the biggest mistakes we make in this business as an agent. Don't do too many things. The message I learned, do fewer things, but the things you do them well and do them consistently. That's the key to success.
That's so good. Rick, you're a generous man. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. You're a credit to our industry and have been for a long time. I'm blessed to have formed a relationship with you many years ago.
Thank you, Rick. Well, I'm so glad that you chose to tune into today's episode. And as a thank you, I want to share with you a newsletter that I send out to my clients. This would be an example of something that I do that I've gotten great feedback. And by the way, by doing this one newsletter once a week, you're staying in touch with your people 52 times over the next year, 52 times by doing one thing, the newsletter. And so in the link in the description, it'll say newsletter. Go ahead and click that link. And what I'll do is I will email you a copy of the newsletter to check out, and you can customize it and make it your own. I make it right in Flowdesk. We'll see you next time.